Okay, welcome everybody. It may seem a bit strange to have these open chairs, but it is a very special occasion where we individually introduce each of our PhD graduates. And there are some, as you can see, that are online. But first and foremost, let me just welcome you this evening. My name is Dr. Marla Koonin. I'm the Executive for Strategy and Stakeholder Management here at the Da Vinci Institute. And I want to say a warm welcome. So I often do it in the African languages, and I was told that I should have a little bit of a mix of languages. So I'm trying something new tonight, and looking at all the students from around the world that we have, I've picked a couple. So please excuse some of my pronunciation. So I'll start off by saying Jioni Njema, good evening, goeienaand, lumelang, moholo, Nje Sawubona, and then Shuvo Sandhya. Did I get that correct in Bengali? And so in terms of this evening's proceedings, please remember that we are still under COVID-19 regulations. So we do ask that people do wear their masks. The graduates, they can hear me outside. They are welcome to take their masks off for their photographs, and when they come up, there are photographers to the front of me here that they will smile for and look at. So graduates out there, please listen. And then the other thing is, please can I ask that you don't use flash photography. You're welcome to use your phones, etc., but it will interrupt with our flashes here. So please try not to use flash photography. And should any of you need the bathrooms, the exits are to that side and to this side. But the proceedings generally are around an hour. We try to keep it to about an hour. And so it's not that long. So we hope that you will be able to remain seated. And I would like to please ask you to rise for the academic procession who are coming into Gaudiamus. Thank you. You may be seated. The audience may also be seated. So you may wonder why we choose to have such intimate graduations. Yes, COVID did change things for us, where we did used to have quite massive auditoriums, but we've really preferred a more intimate engagement. Us, the chairperson of the Da Vinci Institute Council, sitting on my left there, Sachaba Motsiloa. And I would like to introduce the chairperson of the Senate of the Da Vinci Institute, Dr. Franzel de Plois-Celiers. And then online, I would like to acknowledge one of our laureates, Dr. John Carney, who's unfortunately traveling and so couldn't be here. And then our certainly remarkable laureate who's sitting right beside me, Professor Sabono Isaac Barry. I see your dad wants you to take your mask off so he can see you smiling. So I see him frantically telling you. We welcome each and every one of you, and all protocols observed this evening for those distinguished guests, and of course our PhD graduates. But mostly, it is an evening of celebration alongside family and friends, and for us to really enjoy ourselves. So we do put everything on YouTube, and it is live at the moment, and that's why you see so many people joined online. And the other thing is we do film and record the entire evening so that you can always remember this occasion. And it now gives me great pleasure to introduce to you Professor Ben Anderson, who is the Executive Chairman of the Da Vinci Institute, who will individually welcome each of our PhD graduates and their family members that are here, and those that have joined online, please feel included as well. I decided this evening, because I'm introducing such esteemed people, besides for our laureates who I will introduce to you, but people like Prof. Kisveta and Prof. Anderson, I really decided to rather look at things about their character, because you can look up many of their achievements, because I would be here all evening if I had to discuss them. And so when I think of Prof. Anderson and I think of the Da Vinci things that we value, for me, one of the things, which I'll speak to some of your others, but it is your insatiable curiosity towards discovering and understanding new things and the way that you continually innovate. I really believe that Da Vinci would not be what it is, and our namesake would not have actually flown as high as he does if it wasn't for this curiosity and discovery. And Prof. Soborno spoke today about the fact that discovery, curiosity, and love are really important principles. And Prof. Anderson, you certainly have these in abundance, and the way that you're able to thread these into the whole institute, but also back into society, I think is a critical component of what makes the Da Vinci magic what it is, and what makes our galaxy a place where dreams can truly come true. And tonight we recognize the dreams of our PhD graduates at the institute that you began. I introduce to you Professor Benjamin Anderson.
Thank you very much, Marla, and welcome to everybody. It is indeed important, I think, on an occasion like this, that we recognize, amongst all the other people that may have supported you to be successful, for those of you standing outside in the queue, but importantly to recognize at least those members close to you, that you gave recognition of being in support of your journey of achieving your PhD qualification. We who have been graduating from a PhD program will appreciate the fact that you need the voices of other people. You need people that you can talk to, that you can raise your uncertainties and your insecurities at times about developing your logical argument. And most often, family are the closest to that. Now, not all the guests tonight are necessarily family members, but I want to then start by welcoming our first student for the evening, graduating with a PhD. It is Loveness Kunaka, and Loveness brought with her Andrew Kunaka. And I want to say welcome to both of you, and for supporting each other during this journey. And we will, like with all the others, celebrate with you your success. The next candidate is Eric Nhlangweni Masindi, and he's accompanied by Pearl Masindi. Welcome, Eric. The next candidate is Peter Alexander Champion, and he's accompanied by Amelia Champion. The next candidate is Ronaldo de Jager, and he's accompanied by Zane de Jager and Juan de Jager. The next candidate is Perumal Therashinamurti Govender, and he's accompanied by John Govender. The next candidate is Grace Mugatsa, and she's accompanied by Alex Mugatsa. The next candidate is Mfanelo Patrick Ntsobi, and Patrick is accompanied by Sophia Ntsobi. Thabo Moses Ramodula is accompanied by Mabel Ramodula. And then, ladies and gentlemen, we are also accompanied online by Abdul Mahid. And Abdul is accompanied by Laila Saeed Wasfi. And we want to welcome you, all three, tonight at this ceremony. The next candidate is Oyewala Sheena Akim. We want to say welcome to you also to this ceremony. The next candidate is Ansi Prinsloo. I can't see Ansi, but I assume she is somewhere. She's online. And the last candidate is Anakleta Fileng Yende. And we also want to welcome her to the ceremony. So, ladies and gentlemen, I also want you, when you look at these candidates, all people who have, and I believe will continue, to make a real contribution to societal change, that you also remember that they represent a long lineage of people. They are fathers, and they are grandfathers, and they are mothers, and they are grandmothers, and they are grandfathers and grandmothers. And I hope that we tonight will not be selfish in just thinking of the moment of glory for ourselves, in particular for you as the graduates, but that you will honor the long lineage of history that you represent in sharing what you have been received as a beautiful creation of God, in sharing that with the rest of the universe. So with those few words, I want to welcome you all to this 2021 PhD graduation.
Thank you very much, Prof. Anderson. And now we certainly have a sea of red, which is always exciting to see. I made sure my glasses, my nails, my eyes, everything were red for you, and my gown indeed, because today is, without doubt, one of the proudest moments for those of you that have joined us, and that is why I can see many of your family members and supervisors have also joined online. So we live in very different times, but it is wonderful to see everybody that has joined us. Before I continue with the proceedings of any sort, this is a lawful gathering of the Institute. We may not award a qualification unless it is opened by the Senate. And so this evening you have the chair of the Da Vinci Institute Senate, Dr. Franzel de Ploy-Cilliers, and she will now formally and officially open this as a lawful gathering. Dr. de Ploy-Cilliers.
By the power vested in me as the chairperson of the Senate of the Da Vinci Institute for Technology Management, I hereby declare this congregation a legal gathering for the Da Vinci Institute of Technology Management. Thank you.
So what will happen next is, after I give you a short welcome, we will then move on to you being conferred. And what will happen is I will tip my hat towards the chairperson of Senate, and she will grant me permission in order to receive and to be able to give your doctoral qualifications tonight. So enjoy your last few moments where you do not yet get to call yourselves doctor, because it is only once your name has been read at a graduation ceremony that you are able to actually use the title. So I will call you up by your name with no title. I do not make a mistake like that. And after you have received the qualification and you've been conferred by the chair of Senate, which you will see she will mace you, then I will call you doctor for the first time after that. Please, family members online and all over, feel free to clap, ululate, shout and scream. This is your moment in the Da Vinci galaxy. So what I want to say is that later on I'm going to be speaking a lot about the Da Vinci galaxy, and many of you know about it. We speak about this space called the cooperative galaxy. Prof. Barry, you kind of ruined my galaxy today when he says, well, actually, we're pretty insignificant in the world, and if we went kaboom, actually nothing much would really happen. But Prof. Barry's words really ring true in terms of saying that each and every one of us needs to make a difference. You have embarked on a research journey in which it may have been a personal or a professional dream of yours, but the grit and determination that took you to get to this point means that you are a dreamer of sorts. And at Da Vinci, we embrace that. So I want to say that in the words of Nelson Mandela, that a winner is a dreamer who never ever gives up. So each and every one of you tonight that will be conferred, whether here or online, certainly did not give up. And I want to speak to another principle that is really important at Da Vinci, and that is about embracing both your light and your dark, embracing your shadow and embracing that light within you. To be a holistic human being, we really need to understand that there is darkness in the world and there is darkness within each and every one of us. It is how we harness this darkness alongside our light as an individual, as a nation, as a continent, and as a world. And all out there, we have many things. You spoke a lot, Prof. Barry, around terrorism and those aspects and how love and discovery and those things would potentially be able to alleviate us from the horrors that sometimes face our continent and the world. And I'm saying tonight that it is really important that we do not shy away from the darkness, that we embrace it and we turn it into light. So as your namesake, Isaac Newton, says, the most beautiful system of the sun, planets, and comets could only proceed from the counsel and dominion of an intelligent and powerful being. And I want to say that one of the big things for me is that we should not judge each other, and as Nelson Mandela said, do not judge me by my successes. Judge me by how many times I fell down and I got back up again. And that is exactly what I'm trying to say to each and every one of you. There were many moments in this journey, I have no doubt, that you had to claw your way out of the darkness. And you absolutely did. And so today I welcome you as a magnificent, remarkable, shining star in the Da Vinci galaxy. And I welcome you to build your constellation alongside us as we are building ours. And forever and always, you will remain a part of our galaxy. It now gives me great pleasure to be able to start the formal proceedings. So I will call each of your names up. The reason I'm telling you the procedures now is because once I request permission, I may no longer discuss anything else except for you graduating during that time until each graduate has passed through. So what we will do is, for those of you that couldn't see because you were outside, the cameras are here. You will see stickers along the way. They're not social distancing stickers, believe it or not. They are there if you want a beautiful shot of the photographer. I will be speaking while you're moving. Please don't look at me because the photographers get very angry with me. Please keep looking at the camera. You are welcome to take your masks off when you come back because you will have your back to the panel and the panel will not take their masks off. So Prof. Barry, for this one, you'll have to pop your mask back on when you congratulate each PhD graduate. And I would now like to call upon Professor Harbia Klopper, who is the CEO of the Da Vinci Institute and the Executive Dean for Research and Institutional Partnerships. He will stand in front here with me and he will congratulate each and every one of you personally as you come up. And as your abstract is read tonight, I hope you feel absolute pride about what you have achieved in terms of your return on investment of your research. And please remember that you can get the photographs, etc. afterwards, but you are welcome to take, your family are welcome to take during the proceedings as well. So I will now only be speaking about you, and we will proceed with the ceremony. Chairperson, oh, let me get my tassel, it's disappeared. Chairperson, I honorably request to confer the qualification Doctor of Management in Technology and Innovation on the candidates I present to you this evening. Thank you for your permission. We may now begin. Prof. Klopper. Our very first PhD candidate is Loveness Konaka. Loveness' thesis is titled The Alternatives for Sustaining Livelihoods in child-headed families, a case of households in Mashonaland, Central Province in Zimbabwe. Her abstract reads as follows. The central focus of this study was on the innovative solutions for sustaining livelihoods in child-headed families in the Mashonaland, Central Province of Zimbabwe. Sustenance of livelihoods in the child-headed households, whose number have greatly increased over the past decades, is important for the attainment of the Sustainable Development Goals, whose overall theme is that no one should be left behind. Zimbabwe's national development aspirations also underline the need for inclusive development. The full development of a nation is dependent on the nurturing of human skills, and it is essential that children have access to basic needs like education. Access to education by all the children helps in widening the human capital base, and there's also development of innovators. Innovative solutions are necessary to assist these vulnerable children. In this regard, this research examined the possible livelihood projects that will enable children from child-headed households to sustain their families. This study was a qualitative study that was conducted, and the participants included officials in the Department of Social Welfare, educationists, headmasters and teachers, councillors, traditional leaders, that would be chiefs and village heads, and children living in these conditions in child-headed households. The study involved a multi-stage sampling approach which incorporated both probability and non-probability techniques. Firstly, the purposive sampling method was in use to select 4 districts, as these were deemed poorer as compared to other districts. Out of the four poorer districts, simple random sampling was used to select Mount Darwin. Data was collected using interviews, focus group discussions, and observations. Analysis was conducted using computer-aided thematic analysis using the in vivo system and software, which entailed grouping of the related findings together. The study pointed out that sustainable livelihoods in these child-headed households entail that there is access to food, clothing, shelter, education, and health. Yet in almost all the families, they were highly inadequate. The child-headed households also desired to move out of poverty and in turn assist their younger siblings. The children who lead such households were prone to abuse, physical, mental, sexual, as well as being used as domestic workers. While there's a myriad of legal and institutional frameworks intended to support the vulnerable groups, there was a dire need to review these policies and these institutions. The social safety nets were highly inadequate and also prone to abuse by those responsible for implementation. There were no specific programs directly directed to the child-headed households. Many projects, such as beekeeping, fish farming, small livestock, market gardening, and value addition to wild fruits, could be implemented in order to ensure that the child-headed households realize their desired livelihood outcomes. Most importantly, the projects ought to be in line with the available assets in the communities. The children can be organized to work in groups, especially the junior farmer field and life schools. Sound implementation of the livelihood projects was essential, and there was need for multi-stakeholder collaborations. The local and traditional entities who are close to the child-headed families needed to be empowered. The central government, which has the constitutional obligation of ensuring that every Zimbabwean enjoys his or her rights, must be put in place, that they have measures, put in place that guarantee access to food, quality education, as well as health. Another key recommendation from the study was that counselling services for the child-headed households be conducted. Appropriate socialization, career guidance, and life skills can also be imparted through counselling sessions. Flexibility and review of the global, regional, and national policy frameworks on child labour may be necessary. There might be a need to come up with a new definition of child labour. In addition, it is better for the child-headed households to be gainfully and appropriately employed if possible. possible, rather than to suffer physically and mentally because of a lack of access to basic needs. Employing of the children in the child-headed households could be a better evil than letting them drown in poverty. Her framework contributes this to the society and to the world, and we congratulate you with your supervisor, who was Dr. P. Muchinaripi. Congratulations. Loveness, photo. I now introduce to you, and please don't look at me, Dr. Loveness Kanaka. I congratulate you and your family, Dr. Kanaka, on this wonderful achievement. I know what it took to get here, and I wish you much love, luck, and happiness on your journey ahead, and may you continue to contribute to our world. Louise is saying turn around and smile at the next camera. It's your moment in the sun. I always say being the first PhD graduate's the hardest, because now you can all see, so you know when you get maced by Franzel, you must look and look. So Loveness, on being our first PhD graduate, we congratulate you and your family. Dr. Kanaka, congratulations. I would now like to call up our second PhD graduate this evening, Nkangwaleni Eric Masindi. Congratulations. Thesis title, The Impact of Regulations and Supervision on the Profitability and Risk Profile of Banks in Selected African Countries. The abstract reads, this thesis investigated the impact of banking regulations and supervision on the profitability and risk profile of banks in selected countries in Africa during the period 2009 to 2019. The study focused on 33 banks operating across 9 African countries, namely South Africa, Uganda, Kenya, Tunisia, Egypt, Namibia, Zambia, Nigeria, and Ghana as representative of the continent. It includes data from some of the major economies in the continent, such as South Africa, Nigeria, and Egypt, to ensure that regulatory and supervisory developments in the continent are analyzed appropriately. Specifically, the thesis sought to analyze the impact of bank-specific and macroeconomic-specific variables to the activities of banks in the selected countries concerning the continuous developments, reviews, and implementation of banking regulation and supervision as countries strive to meet international best practice in the banking industry. The analysis of the various interrelations were done using dynamic panel data modeling, co-integration, and error correlation modeling approaches using eView's statistical software. The study uses an unbalanced panel of commercial banks in the selected countries to estimate the model with both the return on equity and the return on assets as proxies for profitability. On the whole, evidence shows that a well-regulated, stable, and supervised banking sector is critical in the sustainable economic growth of prospective economies. The findings of the study, however, provide an interesting outcome in contrast to other studies, highlighting that the coefficient of the capital adequacy ratio is negative and statistically not significant to the profitability. This reflects the weak financial conditions in most African countries. The negative and statistically insignificant capital adequacy ratio could also be a reflection of the unacceptable risk profile of banks in our continent. Besides the literature reflecting that adjustment in the inflation rate improves banks' profitability, this study actually contrasts with this view, a further reflection of the uniqueness of the bank's operating environment in the continent. This output cautions banks in Africa on the profile of risks that they should take, as this could impact negatively on their profitability during periods of increasing inflation. This again offers important policy implications for regulators of banks and policymakers in Africa regarding the regulations and supervisory frameworks that relate to onboarding of clients and the management of the loan portfolios. Of the bank-specific variables, net interest margin, loan loss, and cost-to-income ratios have a statistically significant negative relationship with profitability. There is, however, a positive and statistically significant relationship between profitability, macroeconomic specific variables. Overall, the study shows that regulation and supervision impacts on the activities of banks operating in our continent. Although they are at different levels of regulatory and supervisory regimes, including the pace of technological developments and implementation. He was supervised by Professor Paul Singh. Welcome to you, Nkangweleni Eric Masindi. Congratulations. I can tell you that he's also a scientist, the same as you, and a mathematician. I was on his PhD panel, and I promise you, he definitely knows maths, so I think you two should have a bit of a discussion. I don't know, Dr. Masindi, do you think Professor Bari will do better than you on this one? So what do you think, Prof. Bari? I think you could, run a few circles around him with maths and calculus. But Dr. Masindi is an expert in his field. He contributes to our country in the banking sector. Not only this, but he's an absolutely astounding mathematician and did his own statistics, which I think is highly admirable in such a quantitative study. Dr. Masindi, to you and your family, we say congratulations and welcome as an alumnus. Congratulations. Okay, our next candidate, and I just want to comment that Prof. Anderson did say that some people are joining us virtually. Many of our students are not in South Africa or have other personal reasons that they couldn't be here. So I see you in the picture over there, Layla, but we are going to be awarding our next qualification virtually. So I would like to say to Layla Saeed Wasfi Abdul Majid, joining us virtually with a thesis titled "A Reviving Relationship to Community and Place in Education, the case of Aliyah and Mutron schools in Amman." I was also part of this study as well, and really it was beautiful to see you defend your topic, really amazing. The abstract reads that this research has been initiated by the Aliyah and Mutron schools, which were established more than 90 years ago in Amman, the capital of Jordan. Over the years, these schools developed a unique, holistic educational model that is deeply rooted, yet open to the world with a strong belief in service, empowerment, and lifelong learning. The schools are now actively renewing its educational model and are planning to establish an integral arts and humanities college that becomes a continuation of the school's methodology towards higher education. Community engagement is one of the foundational pillars within the school's educational model. Hence, within this process of renewal, it was essential to review existing community engagement practices towards more holistic, interdependent, integral engagement with the community. In this research, and while exploring context around community engagement, this study was able to highlight multiple factors that contributed to the sense of separateness from community and nature as societies moved into a more individualistic, consumeristic, and capitalistic culture and mindset. In this thesis, it was agreed that education systems, including schools, are no exception, and there's a need for greater interdependence and integration with community and place and nature. Adding to that, existing community engagement and service efforts within educational institutions had unintentionally created hidden hierarchy systems, feeding the notion of privileged, helping the underprivileged, and providing fast service-based solutions rather than grounded grassroots sustainable work. The study was able to identify opportunities, key lessons, and practices by activists, practitioners, and entities in Jordan, and from within our context that embody equitable, reciprocal, and natural connection with community and place. The thesis presents the Iyar revival process as an alternative approach that promotes authentic connection with the Ahali community and a focus on their individual and collective kunuz, which are treasures, navigation of knowledge with their tajarob, which are experience, and Hakaya, which are their stories, and a continuous exploration of the interdependence of these elements in education. The development and first application of the process was within the Ayala and Mutron schools, but this process will also contribute towards the first articulation of a future community engagement program of the Integral Arts and Humanities College, which is planned for launch in Amman by 2022. Furthermore, findings of this research can inform schools, colleges, and universities in community engagement praxis. The first application of the YAR process was facilitated through initiating a participatory action research with the school's neighboring community to redesign and reactivate a public park in the neighborhood with a project titled Wasi Betak, Extend Your Home. This experience has clearly shown that community engagement can neither be compartmentalized into clearly defined components, nor can it be laid out in a step-by-step plan or a manual. It is rather a natural integrated approach and process that is highly contextualized and guided by values rather than preset practices. In such a process, people connect through organic forms and daily engagement practices that reflect reciprocity, leading to shared ownership and collective analysis of reality. In this research, the researcher also shed light on educators' embodiment of integral community engagement values as they work collectively to manifest their YAR process within educational and learning practices and experiences. This is supervised by Professor R. Lessem and co-supervised by Professor A. Schiffer. We congratulate you online, Layla Saeed Wasfi Abdul Majid. Congratulations. Dr. Abdul Majid, you are welcome to unmute your mic if you would like to say something or smile and wave. I do see your family dancing around. So I want to say to you, congratulations. Hello, we can all see you and hear you.
Thank you so much. This feels great. Thank you so much. I'm speechless.
Wonderful. Well, we are all clapping here for you, Dr. Abdul Majid. Congratulations on hearing that for the first time, and I'm sure your little ones alongside you are very proud of their Dr. Mommy, so congratulations and enjoy your celebrations, and much love from Jordan. Congratulations. Our next PhD candidate who is here is Peter Alexander Champion. Peter's thesis title is A Fit-to-Purpose Blended Learning Framework for the Development of Management Competencies in a Large South African Retailer. His abstract reads, worldwide, there are numerous frameworks or models of blended learning in use that may be able to be implemented with some degree of success in the South African retail sector. In this study, considering the context provided by the W&R CETA, it is evident that these frameworks and models do not, however, necessarily consider the needs and requirements of the South African retail market with their specific challenges. These challenges include connectivity, access to learning material, geographical distances that may need to be covered to get learners to classroom, and time out of the workplace when attending a classroom session. In addition, these frameworks do not necessarily adequately cater for the application of andragogy, or for that matter, hortagogy, social integration, modeling of behavior, experiential learning, and on-the-job coaching, all of which are important elements required for the adult learners to be successful. The study focused on the development, testing, and verification of a fit-for-purpose blended learning framework that can be used within the South African hardware retail environment for the development of specific management competencies. The refined approach proposed in this study was tested and verified through the identification and training of relevant management competencies that are aligned to those management competencies, you are giving me a tongue twister tonight, identified by the W&R CETA. The training was done using the researchers' proposed blended learning framework within a selected large hardware retailer with a footprint of over 300 outlets employing in excess of 6,000 employees across South Africa and various African countries. The study identified 9 management competencies that could be aligned to those identified as being critical to the South African retail sector. a further 21 refinements to existed blended learning frameworks in general, which informed the design of the refined blended learning framework for application within the South African hardware retail sector as proposed in the study. In addition, the empirical component of the study identified 11 empirical findings, which not only clarify many aspects flagged in the literature review of the study, but also inform and guide the future approach to blended learning and measurement thereof in selected retailers as applicable to management training. The quantitative data was gathered through a self-administered structured questionnaire completed by employees on the selected organization's management development program, as well as the line managers of these employees. The questionnaires were completed before the learning intervention, which consisted of 3 W&R CETA accredited skills programs covering the identified sectorial competencies to be developed, and then again 6 weeks after the last program had been completed. The purpose was to determine if there had been any change in the application of the identified competencies after the learners had attended the training intervention that were administered using the researchers' proposed refined blended learning framework. The 12 observations and reflections of the researcher confirmed that blended learning frameworks are not dependent upon technology, although it's important. Also, the focus must be on the learner and the circumstances in which they find themselves, and the facilitator is key to the successful application of a blended learning framework. However, their success is also dependent upon various elements. These include the effectiveness of e-learning platforms, the caliber of the coach or mentor, and the motivation of the learner, the support of the senior manager within the organization, which is a requirement for training interventions to be successful, and learners being granted the freedom and time to practice their newly acquired skills within the workplace without fear of any reprisal. The proposed framework comprises the integration of traditional classroom training and also technology-based training through e-learning and discussion boards, on-the-job training, coaching and assessments informed by theories of learning and adult learning. The study proved that the proposed refined blended learning framework is a successful competency for managers within the South African hardware retail environment, and in so doing, it developed effective future leaders of the retail sector. The refined blended learning framework confirmed in this study can further facilitate the development of future blended learning frameworks beyond the retail sector within the South African context to develop critical management competencies. You are standing alongside your supervisor, who is Professor Harbia Klopper, and so I congratulate you, Peter Alexander Champion, on your thesis and your PhD. Congratulations. Your contribution to the retail sector is really noted, and it's something that is critical to our economy, and we congratulate you on this thesis, and we wish you continued return on investments from your study for the retail sector and certainly beyond with your framework that you have contributed. Congratulations, Dr. Peter Alexander Champion. Well done. Dave, you're going to make me, I'm going to do your whole name, so let me see how well I do. I would like to introduce to you, now I'm going to say it correctly, Terasinamurti Perumal Govender, also known as Dave Govender. Our thesis, I said I'm going to practice your whole name, even though you tell me I must call you Dave. His thesis is addressing the engineering skills shortage problem in South Africa, developing an enhanced artisan skills training and development strategy. Remember that our Commissioner of SARS has a background in engineering, so be careful. Your abstract reads, the engineering and industrial technology sectors are dependent on the artisan workforce to ensure the successful and timeliest completion of any industrial project. Skilled and competent artisans also are contributors to the socio-economic growth and development of a country. South Africa is experiencing a shortage of skilled artisans necessary for the maintenance and the upkeep of various state-owned entities and other industrial processing and manufacturing plants. In the last 25 years, various interventions have been implemented by the government to overcome the shortage of scarce and critical skills to redress the imbalances of the past. artisan skills training and development is still in an evolutionary stage in South Africa, and there is room for improvement. The quality of artisan skills training and development is directly impacted by the shortage of skills. Concerns have also been expressed by apprentices, engineering leadership learners, and artisan recognition of prior learning candidates around artisan career advancement prospects, academic articulation, and a skill set competency. There's a dire need for artisans to be upskilled and reskilled in light of the fourth and fifth industrial revolutions and the advent of the industrial Internet of Things. This study was undertaken at Techmation Training Institute in Durban, South Africa. The research approach constituted a combination of qualitative and quantitative research methods. The aim of this mixed method study was to develop an alternative training strategy for artisans and to enhance artisan skills training and development programs in South Africa. The study was intended further to identify shortcomings in the training and development programs in South Africa and to determine if the current artisan training and development strategy is suitable to produce the artisan of the future. The findings indicate that there is a need for an alternative skills training framework to add value and enhance the South African artisan skills training. The hybrid artisan skills training, or HAST, and artisan career advancement strategy frameworks are recommendation for the advancement of skills training and development of a highly skilled, competent, and competitive South African artisan workforce. He was supervised by Professor K. Govender. We congratulate you, no relation to Professor K. Govender, in case you were wondering. So we welcome you into our alumnus. Dr. Dave Govender, I introduced to you this evening. His contribution to artisan skills was really something quite remarkable. It was a pleasure to be on your panel and to see how you truly have created a framework that there is possibility for this much needed space in our country. I look forward to the implementation of your study and to see how you advance the sector in this regard, especially with the QCTO and NQF levels, alignments, etc., across the QCTO and higher education sector. Congratulations to you and your family, Dr. Dave Govender. Congratulations. Our next candidate who will be coming up is Grace Mugadza. Grace's thesis is titled A Dualist Integration of Systems Thinking and Design Thinking to a Problem Structuring Method. The Da Vinci design thinking process is a strategic intent intervention that integrates systems thinking and design thinking. It follows a three-step process based on Iraj Sandhi's model. The study was carried out to evaluate the process, assess and design appropriate leadership, and answer the question of whether the process holistically portrays what happens in organizations. A secondary question was whether the Da Vinci design thinking process meets the criteria of a problem structuring method, and if Midgley, Kavana, Brocklesby, Foote, Wood, and Uhuri's Driscoll's framework can be used to evaluate it. Further, the study sought to answer the question of whether the dualist integration of systems thinking and design thinking can resolve the theoretical problem of paradigm incommensurability and improve understanding of wicked problems. Leadership and how it was developed were included within systems thinking and design thinking approaches to leadership. A mix of studying companies' documents to familiarize with the organizations, face-to-face, semi-structured interviews and questionnaires was used to get views on the process. The interviews and questionnaires were developed from Midgley after placing the process within this cluster. The study was based on an interpretivist epistemology, a dualist ontology, and a social constructivist worldview, since the evaluation relied on the opinion of the Da Vinci clients and how they experienced the process. Finding shows that the clients found the process beneficial, as it was not only unique, but offered a platform that facilitated effective review of strategic issues. Further, it was found that it was possible to add an evaluation of leadership as part of the process. It was also found that the process meets the criteria of a problem structuring method, and that at the practical level, it was possible and beneficial to mix methods from different paradigms, as is the case of the Da Vinci process. The study found a weakness in the theoretical and administrative background of the process as there were no records of completed projects. The study recommends that the Da Vinci process be restructured to include an evaluation of leadership. The study promotes multi-methodology, the integration of systems thinking and design thinking, and methodological dualism. The adoption of the new structure, which includes an evaluation of leadership, is recommended. Further, it is recommended that an ex-post evaluation phase be added to the process. The study has contributed by restructuring the Da Vinci design thinking process, placing it in the cluster of problem structuring methods and spelling out its philosophy. It has dispelled the theoretical problem of paradigm incommensurability and shown that at a practical level, mixing methods from different paradigms is not only possible, but it yields benefits in an attempt to conquer wicked problems. A dualist approach within a problem structuring method was successfully used, and the process was successfully evaluated. Under the supervision of Professor P. Singh and the co-supervision of Dr. N. Rom, we congratulate Grace Mugadza. Congratulations. I think systems thinking, design thinking problems are certainly the way of the future, and for us to take skills like critical thinking into an agile fifth industrial revolution is something really critical. So, Dr. Mugadza, I welcome you as a doctor, and we say to you and your family, congratulations. You better look, the photographers are waving at you. We congratulate you and your family. There is nothing that is achieved without support. So congratulations to all those within your microsystem that assisted to this, as well as to your supervisors. I do see Prof. Singh is in the audience, so your supervisor, Prof. Paul Singh, as well as your co-supervisor. Congratulations on this wonderful achievement. Apologies for my delay. Okay, our next student graduating is going to be Mfanelo Patrick Nsobi. I'm just, yeah, I know, but I just can't find his thing here. Please. Oh, there we go. Okay. Ronaldo, I didn't forget about you. Apologies on that. I can see I went the wrong way. So apologies, you're not forgotten. I saw you sitting in the corner there. I promise you, you're not forgotten. And Mfanelo Patrick Nsobi, can you believe you are here? Your thesis is titled, you look shocked. Your thesis is titled, The Pedagogical Integration of Technology as an Enhancement to Teaching and Learning in Gauteng Public Schools, something certainly needed. The abstract reads that the study explores how information communication technology can be integrated in the daily school activities of Gauteng Public Schools from the view of educators, heads of departments, and subject advisors. The aim of the study was to explore the degree of the ICT integration within Gauteng Public Schools, the challenges impending the optimum utilization of ICT towards curriculum delivery, and enabling conditions for ICT rollout in education transformation. Therefore, the study's objectives were to determine the degree to which individual qualities impact the educator's preparedness in the usage of ICT for teaching, to ascertain the magnitude to which preceding ICT skills and computer training affects educators' preparedness within their teaching environment, hence determine the degree to which ICT infrastructure affects the educator's preparedness to integrate ICT technology during the teaching process. Using a stratified random sample, 210 educators were extracted from the identified population. A purposive sampling technique was applied to sample 12 heads of departments, 5 senior officials from the Gauteng Department of Education. Both educators and heads of department were selected from public schools in 3 Gauteng regions, namely Johannesburg, Tshwane, and Ekurhuleni. A triangulation technique was employed using a survey questionnaire and semi-structured interviews as data collection instruments to collect data from respondents. The collected data was then scrutinized in line with the predefined collected conceptual framework. The independent variables of the study were factors influencing educators' readiness to use ICT in public schools, The dependent variable of the study was educators' preparedness to use ICT. An analytical tool, the statistical package for social sciences, was utilized to analyze this quantitative data. This allowed the study to generate descriptive statistics from the data collected. Qualitative data from the semi-structured interviews was analyzed using content analysis, resulting in a systematic and replicable procedure of identifying themes by compressing many words of text into fewer categories. The main result of the study is that ICT training does affect educators' preparedness to use ICT resources for curriculum delivery. Training deepens educators' ICT knowledge and prepares them to apply learned skills. The acquired set of knowledge and skills, in turn, give the educators more confidence in the classroom and competence in teaching the subjects content that they are responsible for. A major recommendation of the study is the need to have regular refresher courses in ICT, as the findings revealed that not all educators have good computer skills. So further, there is also a need to improve the pace of the rollout of the ICT infrastructure, as the lack of its negatively affects educators' preparedness. Above all, the study recommends that a multi-sectoral implementation model for ICT integration should be adopted by the Gauteng Department of Education. This can improve the integration and adoption of technology for teaching and learning in selected Gauteng public schools. The other element to consider is introducing change management early in the rollout so that educators can adopt the changing work environment. Dr. B. Nyamkure was the supervisor, and we congratulate you on this remarkable achievement. Mfanelo Patrick Nsobi, I welcome you this evening as you graduate before us. He is now Dr. Nsobi. Congratulations. We congratulate you. I was waiting for the ululation. Please carry on. Dr. Nsobi, we congratulate you on this remarkable achievement. We say to you and your family, congratulations. This is certainly a family affair, and no doubt you will take Nsobi name forward and continue. Congratulations. Okay, so I'm going to now call up Ronaldo De Jager, who I went the wrong way with, so apologies, Ronaldo, if you would please come up. Ronaldo's his thesis title is An Integrated Approach to Management as a Mechanism to Enhance the Efficiencies of Manufacturing Concerns in the Gauteng province. His abstract reads that the focus of the study was to explore approaches and methodologies to improve organizational performance in the manufacturing industry in Gauteng, South Africa. The study investigated how the various approaches can be integrated to ensure manufacturing companies' optimal enhancement of performance. The study explored the impact of an integrated approach consisting of technology systems, people, processes, and innovation on a manufacturing entity performance. A mixed method approach was applied, combining qualitative and quantitative data collection methods. Stratified random sampling criteria were used to select the participating manufacturing sites to attain multiplicity and generalizability. Probability sampling was used to select the participants in the manufacturing sites. The findings from the study revealed that working experience plays a significant role in the running of manufacturing organizations, and the business process re-engineering as a methodological approach enhances the organization's efficiency. Re-engineering brought about by technology advancements is critical for business success. The research findings also identified organizational culture as one of the primary business elements that impacts the development of effective business strategies. The impact of lean manufacturing is of immense significance to organizational development, and efficiency. The study's findings further revealed that a Six Sigma approach is a practical approach used mainly to eradicate mistakes within the manufacturing framework. Total quality management and organizational development are critical, as well as a need to implement robust training and monitoring systems. Capacity building, monitoring, and support emerged from the study as other strategies for promoting organizational development. The study recommends re-engineering business processes using a variety of management approaches, including lean manufacturing, Six Sigma, Kaizen, TQM, and the aspects of culture as they result in improved efficiencies, productivity, and product quality, technology, and systems management can further improve efficiencies. Under the supervision of Dr. D. Scholz, we congratulate Ronaldo de Jager. Congratulations. Well done on the study, as well as the contribution of a new framework into the sector. Congratulations, Dr. de Jager. Well done. May you and your family celebrate tonight all your successes, and may you enjoy this moment with those who have supported you along the journey. I welcome Dr. de Jager. I'm going to take a very different approach now. We do have a few students left, and whilst we don't normally do this, we don't have something normal on our program this evening. So the rest of you, unfortunately, are going to have to wait to become doctors, not because of anything other than the fact that our remarkable laureate this evening, we have two, but our one has joined us all the way from the United States of America. He is only 9 years old. He has flown out just to meet each and every one of you, but let's not forget that he is 9 years old and sitting the entire day. He had press meetings the whole day, and I think he is absolutely exhausted. So we're going to shift the program slightly, and I'm going to introduce him to you. He's going to then give us his speech this evening, and then we will continue with the rest of our graduates. Because we haven't dissolved this, we can continue as we go along. So I call you back, our wonderful Professor Bari, and I would like to introduce someone very special to you. I think he's probably the youngest person you've ever seen wearing a red coat. I will say to you that Professor Sabono Isaac Bari is an amazing, incredible Asian American child prodigy genius. He is an author, which I will show you his book now, and he is the world's youngest professor. He was only 7 years old when he received his first salary from Ruhr College at the University of Mumbai as a guest professor at the age of 7. That is quite remarkable. He was only born in 2012 at New York's Presbyterian Queens Hospital. His beloved family are sitting behind you over there, his father, his mother, and his brother, who all support him. Today we taught them about the principle of Ubuntu because his dad said that his growth is all about all of us collective within the community. So I said, I am because we are Ubuntu, and that is exactly how they are raising their child genius. He has got a wicked sense of humor, which we've come to absolutely adore. But what I'll tell you is that on November the 3rd in 2014, when Professor Bari was only 2 years old, he already was meeting with the Medgar Edver College's Vice President, Gerald Postman, who took his interview at just 2 years old. I think you were talking at 6 months, right? In full sentences. Okay, 6 months in full sentences. In April 2016, Dr. Lisa Koiko, president of City College of New York, gave Professor Bari the nickname the Einstein of our time for his achievement on a series of tests in maths and science. In 2016, at just 4 years old, he received a letter of recognition from President Barack Obama for his accomplishments in maths and science. And in 2018, I remind you that he was only 6 years old, he received a letter from Harvard University President Drew Forst. On August 28th, he delivered a lecture at Harvard hosted by Harvard Project for Asian and International Studies. And I remind you, he was just 6 years old. In 2019, Professor Bari received an invitation from the Nobel laureate Kailash Satyarthi, Vice Chancellor of SPPU University, Nitin, and the principal of the Rui Autonomous College. And at this, he was asked to make a trip to India. On January the 3rd, 2020, Professor Bari received the Global Child Prodigy Award from the Nobel laureate. And on January the 4th, 2020, he was recognized by the principal of the Rui College. On January the 6th, he gave a book talk on his book called The Love. And it is really incredible. He gave this in front of university faculty, students, and alumni. And in March of 2020, as COVID hit our country, our child prodigy was with Oscar-nominated actor or actress Melissa McCarthy, who interviewed him at Warner Brothers Studios for NBC's Little Big Shots, and his interview was broadcast on NBC during prime time. You may ask what our child prodigy does. Well, he has certainly received recognition from everybody, including the New York State Governor. He's inspired millions of students to fall in love with his great love, which is maths and science. He has a YouTube channel called the Bari Science Lab, and you guys should have a look. He gets hundreds of thousands of views, and he has over 300,000 subscribers. But most importantly, he really is somebody who wants to teach the world about the love of maths and science. He says that teachers don't teach it right, and they don't teach students to love it enough, and that's what he hopes to do to inspire the world. He has chosen, even though he's at a grade 12 level scholastically, to be in grade 4 so that he can play with classmates at recess that are 9 years old as well. But he's doing, because he gets very bored, the grade 8 syllabus alongside it. It is such an honor to introduce to you our laureate this evening, Professor Sabono Isaac Bari. I call upon Sachaba Motsiloa, who is the chair of the Da Vinci Institute Council, to welcome Professor Bari and to give him his award this evening before he delivers his address. And brace yourselves, he is an absolutely astounding speaker. So we look forward to your talk, Prof. Bari. You can sit down until Sachab is finished.
It is a privilege for me to introduce what the Da Vinci Laureate Award for Social Architecture is about. A Da Vinci Laureate is expected to provide insights into the complex systems and make contributions to society at large. They are also recognized for honorable service to their country through applied engagements. Laureates distinguish themselves by engaging in specific domains within society and thereby contribute to the reconfiguration of social systems at large. It is my pleasure now to present to you the award before you. I trust as Prof.
I'm going to give him a microphone. You don't have to stand. You can just choose this one. You can walk forward and stuff like that. You don't have to stand by. You can stand there.
Greetings. I am so excited to be here with you all today, to be with such hardworking people who have earned their PhDs after what I assume is years of work. And I assume that there have been many high and low points. And I know that many of you have embraced the darkness that you have met many times, as Miss Marla has already discussed with us. And I am so excited to be here with you. And so I want to start my speech with a quote from one of the greatest minds of South Africa, Nelson Mandela. He once said that education is the best weapon. And I think that my work is an example of that. Education is the weapon that we can use to change the world. Because education is the thing that we teach to every single one of our students. Every single person receives education. And so we must teach them well. And I know that you graduates have just received the highest degree of education you can get. And so I am very honored to be standing with you here today. And now I want to go all the way back to January 4th, 2020. And when I was teaching at Royal College, Dr. Anna-Flee Lacour was first thinking of hiring a guest professor for her physics class. But her colleagues were raising questions about the age of the candidate because I was only a 7-year-old child at the time. And so the colleagues were thinking, how can this minor give a speech in front of 200 people and teach these guys basic kinematics? How can he do that at 7? Yet the abilities of the child made Dr. Lacour dead set. And the day he came in, he amazed the students. I was that child, and I thank Dr. Lacour for recognizing that age is just a number. Age does not dictate what your education limits are. Age does not dictate anything but the time it has been since you were born. And so I think that is an important thing. It does not tackle your social status. It does not tackle how much skill or education or thought you have. But however, we are so used to it being that way that we think of it as that in our schools, in our homes, and in our systems. And we need to change that. And first, we need to look at how our education is failing our students in general. Our education is currently failing our students, not only in terms of giving them a sense of peace, a sense of empathy, to give them love, to tell them that love is the best thing, to encourage love and peace and respect for one another in the community. We do not engage that, but our education is also fundamentally broken. At the fundamentals, it is broken because we do not teach our students the art of being creative. We do not teach our students being imaginative. We do not teach our students imagination. And so we need to reform our schools. We need to reform our system. And we need to add 2 things to it: love, peace, empathy, and imagination. Because if we do not add empathy to our systems, then people will use our education, the tools that we have given them, our technology and our discovery, to engineer brutality. It has already been done for the past few decades. We have engineered nuclear bombs, viruses that can completely destroy one's life. And we have discovered weapons that could completely end the entire world if just a few of them are fired. And so now is the crossing point. Now is a time more than ever that we must decide to love one another, and we must decide to teach empathy in our schools, in our homes, and in our businesses. Because we must teach empathy and love for one another if we do not want brutality to continue any further. And our education is also fundamentally broken with imagination. We must teach our students creativity. We must teach them how to think creatively, how to connect ideas in ways that they have never thought of before, how to make inferences, and how to think and create new ideas from old ones, and connect them in ways that have never been fathomed before. We need that kind of thing, and we need it now, so we can have better students and better workers. We need a better world. And so we need these kinds of things. We need a better education system. And so I call this educational reform, adding imagination and love, I call it Manish, named after my new book of the same name. And I think that I must start this speech with some tradition before I dive into what I think Manish should include. First, I would like to thank not only the Honorable President for inviting me. I am very honored to be here. But I would also like to thank Honorable Executive Chairman Professor Ben Anderson and Honorable Executive Dean Professor H.B. Klopper for inviting me here. And more importantly, I am very grateful for them. And I am very grateful that they have given me the Da Vinci Laureate Award. And I feel that there are people so much more experienced than me that I am speaking to right now in the crowd. People who have earned their PhDs after years of work. People who have worked on their PhDs longer than I've been alive. And so I am very honored to be here among all these honorable and among such talented guests. And so I would first like to start this speech by congratulating all the PhD graduates who have just earned their highest degree in their respective field for education. And so I also am very grateful to the Da Vinci Institute for giving me such a warm welcome, for giving me such warm smiles and handshakes, for giving me such a warm welcome to such a great nation. And I am so honored to be at such a prestigious institution. And so I would like to start by underlining what education is at its basis. Education is in many branches. Education can be history, art, math and science, engineering, medicine, even business and technology, as you people who have just earned your graduates, your PhDs for. And so I am very honored to be here, and I think that education, talking about it, is a big subject, especially when it comes to people who have received their highest degree in education. So education, there are many subjects that are educational, and I don't think that you should force your child to go down one of these paths. You should not force your child to be somebody you want them to be. You should allow your child to choose their own future, choose who they want to be, and to find their own passion. I think you should allow your child to at least be exposed to every single topic that you can at least afford. Math and science, politics, or business, or whatever. If they fall in love with a passion, it is theirs. They have found their hidden love, their hidden talent. And I believe that every single child is born with a hidden talent, whether that it be math or science or not. And so I think that this hidden talent needs to be nurtured. And there are probably millions like me all around the world. I think it's a wonder how none of them have received the Laureate Award yet. On second thought, it's probably because they aren't being nurtured. They and their talents are not being nurtured. They are not being revealed. Instead, their talent is wasted, and sometimes it is even an issue with discrimination, racially or sexually. And so I think that this kind of thing should not be done. We should allow our children to be exposed to every single subject and to be able to find their own passion, to find what they love, their own subject. I personally fell in love with math and science on my second birthday. When I was younger, my father would my father was a security guard, but he was also a math student, and so he would be writing down all these equations in the same room that my crib was, and well, I don't think he thought it was a bad idea, but he started doing that, and when I was seeing him doing that, I was so fascinated by that magic trail coming out of the chalk. What do these symbols mean? One day, can I learn their meaning? What could those mean? And can they have an effect on the world? I was thinking about those symbols like all day long. And one day I hobbled up enough courage to start copying down the symbols. And I even started hoarding the chalk that my father had under the bed so I could use it from time to time. And so I was really fascinated. And one day my father caught my fascination with all these symbols and how creative you needed to be, and I was really interested in just playing with numbers, being creative, being imaginative, and just doing playing with these kind of symbols and stuff, and so I was very interested in doing that kind of thing. But But our students are not interested in that kind of thing because we don't present math and science to them that way. Sure, we have good arts classes and English classes. For one, the last thing I learned in art was like dot art or something, like making dots on a on a canvas or something. But I think that we teach art or English or things like that fine. But math and science, that is just not the case. We stigmatize it, and we make it seem like only big geniuses can do that kind of thing. When in reality, it is just creativity and imagination. It's something you use just as much as facts when you were talking about math and science. You have gotten so many equations, so many ideas, like recursive equations and whatnot, from just ideas, thinking, being imaginative. We thought of the idea of infinity. We didn't just see it in our world because there was nothing to be seen that is infinite in our world. We thought of it. We imagined it. We were able to make that observation, and eventually so many things stemmed out of it, like recursive systems and whatnot. And so I think that math and science is just as much creativity and imagination as it is all the facts and boring equations. And so creativity, observation, and imagination are three things that you need when you are talking about things like math and science. But schools don't present it that way. Schools present it so you need one thing, memorization. What happens is the school teaches you these equations without any context, then you memorize them, and then you forget them 5 minutes after you receive your test score and you find out it was an F. So the thing is, that is just not how we want things to work in math and science. We cannot have it just a field of memorization because that is not the case. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It is not sticking to the same old principles and rules, but rather the pursuit of knowledge, trying to discover something new. And in fact, trying to amend our old rules if we find a mistake in them. And that is what our schools should be teaching. I find that the pursuit of knowledge is much more fun than somebody just telling the lesson plan to your face. It's so not tell. We use it all the time in writing, but why don't we use it in math and science at all? I think that that's a very important thing, to let your students discover, to let your students be creative. And in fact, maybe they will discover something new if they experimented long enough. So this kind of thing is what we need. We don't need schools to be places where they just tell you the lesson plan to your face. That's about as effective as giving your students the folder for the lesson plan and just asking them to flip through it. What you want to do is you want to give the students an experience with creativity, imagination, and you want to give them the freedom to do whatever they want and to do something that leads up to the lesson plan, the main central lesson. You want them to discover the lesson, not to just have the lesson told them to their face. And that is the idea, the essence of imagination, of creativity. And that is what we need to teach in our schools. We need to teach math and science as that. Now, I think that that is extremely important. But we also must teach another central, pivotal thing in our schools. The art, the idea, the central idea of empathy, of love, of things like that. We must have love for one another, and we must recognize each other as humans. Once we recognize each other as equal humans, there will be no such thing as monsters. There will be no such thing as people killing others for their own beliefs, for their own religion. And unfortunately, in my religion, Islam, there are also many terrorist groups emerging. And these groups have recently been ravaging the world and killing many others for their own gain, or because those others didn't have the same beliefs, the same ideas as them. But we must learn to recognize one another and realize that others have different beliefs, different ideas. And when we embrace that side of ourselves, when we embrace that we are all different, that we are all unique, and we have different unique ideas, that is the art of empathy. Both empathy and sympathy. you must understand others from either your own perspective or their perspective. That is very important. You must understand what others are thinking, what others are feeling. You must understand others' beliefs. And only then will we get a world without terrorism, a world where people think of another having a different belief as something so criminal that you have to kill them or shoot them in the head for it. And so I think that that is a very important principle, having empathy for one another. But unfortunately, we just don't teach that in schools. In our schools, we forget to teach empathy and peace. We forget to teach people and encourage the peace between all others. And we forget to at least say that religion or division of belief does not mean that you're going to kill each other or duel or shoot each other just because you have different beliefs. In schools, they must teach empathy. They must educate us about empathy. And so, I think that that is an extremely important thing that we just don't get in education. And that is why we have war, we have brutality, and we have terrorism. Because we do not teach empathy for one another, and we do not teach love for one another. And you might say, what about resource wars? People just engage in war to get resources sometimes. Well, with enough technological advancement, resources will be in abundance. So there will be no need for war such as that. And so we don't need war. We must leave war behind. And in particular, I am very touched, and I admire the way that Nelson Mandela brought peace to South Africa, and the ANC in general brought peace, not by guns or bombs or weapons, but by using peace negotiation and being peaceful, protesting, not killing one another because they think either that the whites are bad or that they should be elevated above the whites. In fact, they did not fight for black supremacy. They fought for equality. They fought not for racism, but for equality. Just because a tip of the scales doesn't mean anything good. Only equality on the scales, equity, is good. We must recognize each other as equal humans. Nobody is above us as humans. And just because we have different beliefs doesn't mean we are elevated above or below one another. We are all equal as humans, and we must teach that in our schools, in our education. We must teach that to our youth. Otherwise, we will have war raging on for who knows how long. And it has already been raging for the past hundreds of thousands of years, ever since 10,000 BC, when the first real parts of civilization were born. So I think that this is something very important. We must teach our students to imagine. And in fact, I have a very great example from one of my favorite educators. Sir Ken Robinson was a very good man. He was an educator, a British speaker, and an advisor to government on how, an advisor on leaders on how to educate youth. And he once made this joke where he visited this classroom, and there was this teacher who said, hey, class, draw something. And so the students decided to draw it. There was this one little girl in the pack, and she wasn't really a person who paid attention most of the time, but now she was really, real focused on her drawing. And so the teacher went over to her and noticed that and asked her, what are you drawing? And the little girl said, I'm drawing God. And then the teacher said, but we don't know what God looks like. How should you imagine God? And then the girl said, well, they might not know now, but they will in a minute. And so the thing is, the teacher, not only is the teacher being kind of rude to the little girl, but the teacher is also failing to nurture the girl's imagination. Just because a teacher can't imagine something doesn't mean a student should be bound to their constraints. Just because a teacher doesn't have the amount of creativity needed for a subject doesn't mean a student should be modeled to be just like the teacher. Doesn't mean a student should be bound to the lesson plan. I, for one, think that students should be able to have just as much control over the lesson, what's being taught in the lesson plan as teachers do. Unless what's being taught in the lesson, what the students want in the lesson plan is vulgar or something, we want our students to be able to give feedback on our lessons, to be able to show teachers either they need help or they want to move forward on a concept, or they want to show others a new concept that maybe the teacher didn't want to think about, or the teacher didn't have time for, or they think that it's really insightful that the teacher didn't that forgot. And so we need our students to give feedback on our lesson plans, and we also need our students to be able to imagine, to be able to be creative, even when our teachers are not as creative or not as passionate. But that is another thing, because most of our teachers are not passionate nowadays. Why? Well, because they were passionate. But now, either corrupt education systems have sucked it all out of them, or they just don't have the capacity to be creative or the passion for teaching anymore. Maybe because teaching is a kind of a really tough job. But the thing is, we need very passionate teachers. When your student is ready to learn, you need to be ready to teach. You need to be a good teacher for your student. And many teachers use excuses that their student is not doing good, when in reality, they are the ones not nurturing their students' creativity, not nurturing their imagination. And I feel that that is one of the most important things. And so that is what I think that education needs. It needs reform. Now, the thing is, many people don't know what to reform it with. The easy part is knowing that education is crap. The hard part is knowing what to replace it with. So, I think that we should not replace it, but reform it. We need to change our education system. We need to tell the world that empathy, love, and equality for one another is the best thing. And we need to also fundamentally fix our education, because we do not allow our students to imagine. We must give our students the ability to create. The reason why we are getting less and less breakthroughs each year is because our students are failing to imagine. And that's not the student's fault. It's because the school doesn't teach them to. We need to teach our students to be able to imagine, to look in even the darkest places, the places where there might not, where they think they might not be anything, and connect even the wildest of ideas in ways that seem unfathomable, but may turn out to be a breakthrough in the future. We need those kinds of students, but our schools don't want to engineer those kinds of students, or they can't, because we don't teach imagination in our system. So, we need to reform education with two things. We need empathy and we need imagination. And we need it now more than ever. When we are at a time when there are many crises that can only be fixed with science, like COVID-19 or our climate crisis, but there are also many crises that are socioeconomic or geopolitical, like the USA or China war, like a possible USA or China trade war, which just happened back in 2018, or the space race between US and China. And I think that this kind of socioeconomic or geopolitical tension can only be solved by empathy, love for one another, and recognizing that we are equal. And just because we might have different systems of life, communism and capitalism, doesn't mean we should be fighting one another and trying to see which one is better. We should be at least embracing that we have the ability, the capacity to think different things, to have I think that China, and I think that in general, well, we should not be persecuting each other or having war with each other because we have different systems or different beliefs or other things like that. But well, we should be in peace with one another. We should recognize that we have different beliefs. We should recognize that we are all unique, and we should embrace that instead of fearing that kind of imperfection, fearing that kind of change, that kind of uniqueness. We should not fear uniqueness. We should embrace it. And that is what I think is the message of empathy. We need to add that in our system. We need to show that uniqueness is not something to be feared. It is something to be enjoyed. It is something to be embraced. And that is a very powerful and strong message. And we need to convey it to our students now more than ever. When we have nuclear weapons, and a single angry or greedy exchange could end the whole world. So we need this kind of feeling now more than ever so we can disarm one another and we can be in peace with one another. And we need to fix imagination as well. So education needs two things, empathy and imagination. Without one, we cannot achieve a world without war, a world at peace. And without another, we cannot make a single scientific breakthrough. We cannot make any scientific breakthroughs fast or rapidly. Sure, we will get a genius in 100 or 200 years eventually. Just look at Newton and Einstein. But those are outliers. We have to make sure every child gets a chance to nurture their talent. Then we could have so many more Picassos or Beethovens or Einsteins or Newtons or, well, history geniuses. I'm not sure if there are any people who are extremely good at history, but, well, that's for another time. But I think that now more than ever is an important time to have empathy. When we are in very tense global conflict and on the edge of war, we must learn peace and empathy for one another right here, right now. And so we must also give our children the chance to make a breakthrough, to make a difference in our world, to make sure that our world can be different. And so to make sure that every child can make a change and get a quality education. That is one of the most important things in our world. We need to make change. We need to do it now. And so I think that my reform, Manish, is a reform that needs to take place at least in the recent future. We need this reform now because otherwise our world will be at war and our world will be dying because we will not be able to make another breakthrough. We will have to live through the crises that can only be solved with science because it is our fault that we do not get to any creative minds because of our education system. We need to make this reform now because we are on the tipping edge and we are about to fall off a cliff that has a long way down. And so we need this parachute right now. And so I think that this is the best way for education. We need to reform education and we need it now. And so that is why I think that education should be reformed.
So he says that he feels so honored, and we feel even more honored. And I want to say that you are welcome to go sit if you would like, to sit with your mom a little bit while you rest and recuperate. We know that you've flown a very long way from America, and you have been with the press the whole day today. So well done. I think before you go, I will say to you, Prof. Bari, the fact that you said that entire thing without one note, without anything, after you have just flown all the way and been busy the whole day, is even more remarkable. But your message of love, imagination, and empathy are critical. So we congratulate you on your book, on who you are, what you represent. Congratulations. And I want to say that love, imagination, creativity, peace, empathy, and your book, Maneth, are really so important to everybody. So I think that you are an example of what Remarkability stands for, and we congratulate you and thank you for being our 2021 Da Vinci Institute laureates. Well done. So as we proceed, I left those standing, so we had a few doctors in the house, but I want to say to the doctors we've already conferred, how do you feel? Because today when I was called Dr. Coonan at the press conference, I said, please don't call me that, because I was sitting next to Prof. Bari and I felt a bit embarrassed to use my title. But Prof. Bari then told me we should be proud of the fact that we've worked this hard to get where we're going, and he wants to himself do his own PhD in maths and physics and chemistry and everything else global and around the world. So without further ado, I would like to join virtually is Sheena Akim Oyewale joining us from Nigeria. And I want to say the thesis title is Afro-Integral Impact Investment, a framework for alleviating poverty in Nigeria through youth entrepreneurial development. The abstract reads, South Korea came out of a war and became a global player in the world economy. Millions were lifted out of poverty. China, after the Maya Revolution, lifted hundreds of millions of Chinese people out of poverty within 3 decades. However, the youths of Nigeria are increasingly being embroiled in the poverty cycle, with huge numbers of graduates unable to have jobs. Educated and uneducated youths are roaming the streets without any hope of turning the curve in the next few years. These challenges are replicated in several African countries. The quest via this PhD thesis, following the Southern Relational Research path of integral research within the Mode 2 learning of the Da Vinci Transform program, is to co-create innovative ways to nip off the wicked problem of youth unemployment that is heavily entrenched in Nigeria and the entire African continent. Taking this unconventional research approach, this study applied the descriptive method to highlight the origination of the research, which distilled into the research objectives, questions, and hypotheses. Phenomenological study was done as part of the research methodology was applied as the thesis foundation or prior literature review. This was preceded by feminism as the research critique method, which in conventional research terms means the methodology and methods for investigation and analysis. The research process ended with the cooperative inquiry as the research findings and contributions to a specific community, the Offa community in Kwara State, Nigeria. Through the cooperative inquiry approach, the co-researchers, including the emerging CISER, Offa community and the Offa Descendant Union, and the researchers successfully tested an Afro-Integral Impact Investment Framework in Offa, Nigeria, that will not only provide opportunities for youths to use their natural talents to generate employment for themselves and members of their community, but to do so in a manner that is sustainable and scalable, with measurable impact on themselves, their immediate communities, and beyond. The result was a sustainable agribusiness in Offa community, employing 20 to 80 youths directly and indirectly. The Afro-Integral Impact Investment Framework derives a lot of support from the emerging line of impact investing, a global phenomenon that seeks to use global funds to create impact as against just profits. Moving beyond a PhD program, this framework is hoped to be institutionalized as support to drive the various initiatives of the Nigerian government and private investors across the board. It will encourage organizations to create structures that would allow corporate social responsibility budgets to evolve to corporate social investments with measurable impacts. And above all, it will lead to the attainment of a number of the Sustainable Development Goals and reduce the toga of Africa as the poverty capital of the world. Achieving some of the Sustainable Development Goals while having some returns in Africa is plausible. The study, therefore, takes the steps towards putting to practice the proposed framework with the high hopes to reap rewards for Nigeria and Nigerians, for Africa and Africans. Supervised by Professor R. Lessem and Professor A. Schiffer, I want to congratulate in Nigeria, Sheena Akim Oyewale. Congratulations. Dr. Oyewale, I think you have lost a bit of signal, but if you haven't, you are welcome to speak. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Dr.
Thank you
Oyewale.
very much. I'm really grateful and happy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think there's a little bit of a signal delay, but thank you. We did hear you, Dr. Oyewale. Very much appreciated. The next person joining us is Ansi Prinsloo. Ansi's thesis title is Enhancing Healthcare Delivery Through a Framework that Integrates Inclusivity and Quality Improvement Science. The abstract reads, healthcare systems and healthcare delivery are so critical to our collective well-being that these systems require constant improvement. This thesis presents a quality improvement framework to guide the development of QI programs for the South African healthcare industry. The study proposes that healthcare delivery can be enhanced by integrating inclusivity and the QI into the inclusivity quality improvement framework. The IQI framework was developed by considering the origin of improvement science and contemporary applications from a sound theoretical base. The conceptual framework draws on the model for the integral inclusivity framework, spiral dynamics, and business theory. Upon completion of the framework, 2 QI programs were developed and implemented to inform the framework empirically. This longitudinal qualitative study is embedded in a constructivist, subjective, and interpretive approach. Inductive and abductive processes were used to develop, apply, and refine the IQI framework. A multiple embedded case study methodology was used, deriving insights from literature to apply and replicate the framework across 2 cases. As such, the thesis follows a non-conventional format with an introduction, a research methodology section for the case study, for the case study methodology, followed by unpacking the literature as a case. This was followed by 2 empirically applied cases. This meant that data was gathered by reviewing the extant literature and published case reports, semi-structured in-depth interviews, member reflections, and researcher notes. Content analysis was used to compare the theoretical themes informing the IQI framework facilitated by Atlas TI version 8. The 2 practical implementations led to the refinement of the IQI framework, and the findings provide insight with respect to the theoretical contributions, practical application prerequisites, and barriers to successful QI work in healthcare and the benefits derived from application of the IQI framework. The findings emphasize that the theories used to inform the framework resulted in improvement. The 2 applications, the aptitude, ability, and experience required to facilitate the improvement work. The distinct roles of the leadership in the organizational hierarchy also came to the fore, specifically with respect to communication approaches. After the 2 applications, the IQI framework was refined with regard to the interactive core components, program content, which is doing, role players, and program approach, which is being. The integrated nature of the IQI framework allowed the QI lead to facilitate the desired outcomes, which hinge on the integration of the core components of the IQI active participation and authentic co-ownership from role players at various levels in the system. The study is limited to the private, secondary, and tertiary healthcare in South Africa, and the IQI framework application is yet to be tested in other settings and sectors. Her supervisor was Dr. Rika Fulyun, who I see online. Hi, Rika, and welcome. And I introduce to you Ansi Prinsloo. Congratulations, Dr. Ansi Prinsloo, on receiving your doctorate today. There, Ansi's getting a nice kiss on the screen. Absolutely beautiful. Ansi, would you like to say anything, Dr. Prinsloo?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the honor, and thank you, Rika, for journeying with me.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Fulyun, for another successful student. And to Dr. Ansi Prinsloo, you've certainly showed Professor Bori's thing about love. So thank you to whoever was kissing you there. I think it's your husband. Congratulations, Dr. Prinsloo. Right, we now move on to our student who is here. So if Prof. Klopper could come back up, please. You're welcome to stay here for now. And we are calling Thabo Moses Ramodula. Absolutely, I want to hear this. His thesis is entitled The Nexus Between Strategy and Vision in the South African Local Government System. Commissioner Kisveta, he's changing our local government, and I hope you approve. At the time of public policy pronouncements, the public sector often sounds promising and destined for great success. However, once the policy implementation phase begins, the original vision, as this study demonstrates, slowly becomes blurred by the complexities and uncertainties of the real world, in what would be and could be characterized as an antithesis to a developmental local government. In recent years, municipalities have slipped into socio-economic distress and dysfunctionality. This study investigates the nexus between strategy and vision within local government systems. The premise of the study is based on a vision giving impetus to strategy, and the municipal practice of strategy development should therefore give primacy to the vision of a developmental local government. The research is based on a conceptual framework that represents the vision of a developmental local government as the ultimate form of local government, envisioned to dictate the directional path for municipalities in South Africa. A qualitative research method was used to conduct a multi-site case study at 3 municipalities, namely Rustenburg local municipality, the independent local government of Orania, and the Manguang Metropolitan Municipality. It was ascertained that in all cases, integrated development planning is used as a principal strategic planning and/or strategic management approach, following a linear step-by-step process. A more holistic approach to municipal strategy, i.e. a growth and development strategy as professed by the National Planning Commission, is not yet fully integrated and employed. Significantly, the study found the nexus between the municipal strategy and the vision of developmental local government is lacking consistency due to a piecemeal approach characterized by the political tenures of the incumbent mayors and councils, especially at traditional municipalities such as the RLM and the Triple M, which we already spoke about earlier in this, and that was Rustenburg and the Manguang Metropolitan. This is because every new incumbent introduces a new vision, new strategies. Consistency is a defining feature of strategy, and it's not a challenge at Orania due to the one-party system and the lack of an alternative ideological orientation to the dominant Afrikaner self-determination principles. The findings further shed light on the dominance of the conventional approach to strategic management in municipalities, factors affecting the effective implementation of the vision of a developmental government, the impact of historical factors including the legacy of the liberation struggle and apartheid on local governance, and the role of ethical leadership and performance management. The findings of this research have implications for both theory and practice. Theoretically, the study introduces an understanding of strategy from its military etymology, a more holistic and long-term orientation of strategy. It propagates strategy as an intergenerational leadership phenomenon that should point at the long-term vision of developmental local government. A long-term orientation will propel municipalities to conduct their business, including efforts of acquisition and allocation of resources, designing of organizational structure, managing performance, determination of core competencies, and learning endeavors in the manner that seeks to address the developmental agenda. This broadens the scope of the municipal strategy beyond a reductionist approach, which confines a municipal strategy to planning. Regarding practical implementations in the study, or implications, the study identifies critical factors affecting the effective implementation of the vision of a developmental local government. These include inadequate legislation of developmental local government initiatives, i.e. the origins and original policy intent, ends with a white paper, which is a proposal making it impossible to enforce accountability or execute an effective legislative oversight function to this effect. Hence, the study concludes by proposing a framework for a holistic approach to municipal strategy, which supports the vision of a developmental local government by offering practical solutions towards the transformation of municipalities to become more developmental in nature. It was supervised by Professor K. Govender. We congratulate Thabo Moses Ramodula. Congratulations. As you are amazed, Dr. Ramodula, let us remember that our municipalities play a critical role in our ecosystem, and the fact that you tackled a topic that is often fraught with corruption and very difficult areas, we congratulate you on this, and we hope to see its implementation. Congratulations to you and your family. Prof. Klopper, this was like you gave me something that exploded. I don't know why. Congratulations on this remarkable achievement. I'm not hearing any cheering from your family. I know the night is getting long. We are almost there. Congratulations. You can go. Lots of years of work for a quick moment in time, hey? We're very sad about our next student, who I'll read you her extract, and she's supervised by Dr. Renelle Blom, who joins us this evening online, and that is Navashni Seetal. She was an excellent student who presented a wonderful topic, and this morning her dad sadly passed away and she's unable to come. She was intending to come. Although she can't join us, I would like to, in respect of her, read out her thesis title and abstract so that she's got it in memory. We wish her and her family many condolences on this very sad loss. Her thesis title was A Systems Perspective on the Commercialization of Public Research in South Africa. Her abstract reads, South Africa's progress and the socio-economic well-being of its citizens demand that the country gains and maintains a strong foothold in the global competitive rankings. To this, the country's capacity to innovate and successfully commercialize its innovations is critical. Unsurprisingly, there has been growing interest in the commercialization of public research. By applying the innovation system framework, this study sought to understand the barriers and enablers affecting the commercialization of the outcomes of publicly funded research. The aim was to develop a strategic guidance framework to help harmonize the public research system to achieve the efficient and effective commercialization of public research in South Africa. Unlike many studies which have taken a reductionist approach to understanding public research commercialization, a systems perspective was adopted. In acknowledgement of the PRS as a complex adaptive system, she used a qualitative design in keeping with the nature of the study. She did 10 semi-structured interviews that were conducted. Respondents were purposefully selected to provide insights into the phenomenon of public research commercialization. Subsequently, a modified structural functional analysis of the PRS was conducted to determine the functional performance of the system and to connect identified problems to the system's structural components and transformative imperatives. The research revealed a poorly functioning PRS and a variety of interlinked problems with several causes rooted in the structural dimensions of the public research system. A major finding of the study showed the governance and coordination of the PRS to be a leading impediment to the effective and efficient commercialization of public research. This thesis has contributed theoretically to the current body of knowledge on public research commercialization by studying the PRS as a complex adaptive system as well as to the innovation systems approach. The research commercialization have taken a reductionist view focusing on low leverage changes, that is, fixating on symptoms of problems rather than on the root causes. In this work, the focus was on understanding the conditions holding the problems in place in order to appreciate where interventions would have the most meaningful and sustainable impact. Her supervisor, as I said, was Dr. Renelle Blom, and we congratulate Dr. Navashni Seetal, and we know that her father is certainly looking down on her now. Congratulations. Our last student is also graduating virtually. Feleng, I think you have joined us online, if I am not mistaken. Feleng, Anakleta Yende is joining us with, there you are. Nice to see you again, Feleng, with a thesis titled Enhancing the Public Sector Leadership. You first got to let me finish. In the age of the fourth industrial revolution to lead seaters. Her abstract reads, the field of public sector leadership has received considerable attention worldwide. Arguments and counter-arguments in empirical research regarding the fourth industrial revolution technologies indicate that the public sectors of various countries have improved their performance. A qualitative exploratory case study of the South African Education and Training Authorities, the SETAs, as I will now refer to them, was undertaken as a critical, reflective, work-based challenge to advocate for a shift in performance through 4IR. The study employed eclectic theories of socio-evolutionary and responsibility attribution underpinned by systems thinking. The study was designed to document 11 purposefully selected key stakeholders in the post-school and education training, or PSET, ecosystem as active participants in education, training and innovation on how public sector leadership performance in the SETAs can be enhanced by adopting and optimizing the 4IR. The key findings of the case study indicate a high level of awareness and understanding of the interrelatedness of technological innovation and organizational performance. Digital technology offerings can offset the material mismanagement of resources at the SETAs. 7 recommendations are proposed by the study to change the current status quo. Through collaborative efforts of public-private partnerships, the SETAs and the PSET system can change the skills development path by adopting and optimizing 4IR to enhance growth and development of South Africa and the African continent as a whole, which is sorely needed as a result of the COVID-19 health challenges, subsequent job losses that have come with this. The timing of the 4IR Presidential Commission in South Africa is a lever to implement these recommendations. As one of the few scholars working in PSL in South Africa, the study contributes to the body of knowledge in organizational adaptability and the nexus between PSL and the 4IR. Limitations and future research areas were also delineated in the study. Her supervisor was Dr. D. Steyn. We congratulate you, Dr. Feleng, Anakleta, Yende, congratulations. Congratulations, and thank you for celebrating alongside us. So, as we close off this part of the proceedings and move on to our awards and that's the last part, I want to say to Dr. Konaka, Dr. Masindi, Dr. Abdul Majid, Dr. Champion, Dr. Diyacha, Dr. Govender, Dr. Mugadza, Dr. Nsobi, Dr. Oyewala, Dr. Prinsloo, Dr. Ramadula, Dr. Seetal, and Dr. Yende, congratulations and welcome to the Da Vinci Galaxy. Woo! So I'm going to say that at the moment we like to serenade our doctoral students with God Bless Africa. And obviously, because of COVID-19, it is going to be virtual. So please may I ask that God Bless Africa is played as a serenading of our doctoral students. Well, now graduates.
Can reach down and
next part of our ceremony is the awarding of 2 awards. These are Senate awards, and they are awarded a year previously. So, for example, the 2 recipients tonight graduated last year, and out of your group, they will be the following year, and that's how we award these awards. The first award, I would like to call on the Chairperson of Senate, Dr. Franzel de Plooy-Cilliers, as well as the President of the Institute, the Commissioner of SARS, Professor Edward Kisveta, to award the student. If you would please stand and award the student the President's Award. The Da Vinci President's Award recognizes students in doctoral studies who, through excellence in applied research, contribute to a deepened or furthered understanding of what constitutes the Da Vinci Institute's approach to business management and leadership in technology, innovation, people, and systemic thinking. The students should, through their research activities, demonstrate an unquestionable contribution towards the creation of new knowledge and application as related to the management of technology, innovation, people, and/or systems within a specific organizational context. I would like to congratulate Dr. Linky Janse van Rensburg Welling on this award of the President's Award this evening. We congratulate you on this, Dr. Janse van Rensburg Welling. It really is indeed a remarkable achievement. If we do not have students that qualify for these awards each year, we do not give them out. We only give these awards when we have candidates that are worthy of this. And you, Dr. Janse van Rensburg Welling, certainly are. Congratulations. And thank you for all you do for the disabled community in our country. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Prof. Kisveta. I would like to now call upon Sachaba Motsiloa, our chairperson of the Da Vinci Institute Council, and ask Dr. de Plooy-Cilliers to stay standing as the chair of Senate as we award the Excellence Award. The aim of the Da Vinci Doctoral Academic Excellence Award is to acknowledge academic excellence demonstrated by a Da Vinci doctoral graduate. This person serves as an example of remarkability for fellow Da Vinci students and promotes the Da Vinci Institute through the quality of its students' contribution to valuable research. There is no one else that would have done this in the same way as you, or with your elegance and grace. She is also a member of the Da Vinci Institute Council and is very involved in the Institute, and is at the end of this month going to be presenting in Demonstrazione about how her research has actually been applied and has been worked on in the last year. I introduce to you Dr. Premi Naika. Congratulations. As Dr. Naika comes up to receive the Excellence Award, I want to say congratulations, but mostly, Dr. Naika, I want to say thank you to you for your continued contribution to the Institute. You are always, they're going to shout at me for you not looking, you are always willing to sit in on any meetings and assist with students and assist with your time, even though you run your own business and are extremely busy. So thank you, Dr. Naika. Congratulations. Now we will move on to our last awarding of our laureate. We did it slightly differently. We would usually have awarded them together. This year we had 2 distinguished candidates, as you have already met the remarkable Prof. Bari, but there was a second candidate, and they certainly show the divide between young and old. Many of you know him. He is extremely well known in our South African community and in the international arena. He's a public activist and a remarkable human being. His name is Dr. John Carney. Yes. Dr. Carney, as you know, is an actor, a director, and a playwright. He was born in New Brighton, Port Elizabeth, where our youngest laureate was born in 2012. He was born in 1943. He says he doesn't mind me sharing, where he started his career with the Serpent Players Drama Group. He joined the Market Theatre in Johannesburg in 1986. He has appeared in Johannesburg's Market Theatre in many plays. I will not name each one, but many of you know them from our history in this country. And he is also somebody that has been acting in Sizwe Banze's Dead and the Island. John also co-wrote these plays with Athol Fugard and Winston Nchona. He won the 1974 and the 1975 Tony Award on Broadway for being the best actor for his performance in the productions that I've just named. He also received an Obie Award in New York for his contribution to theatre in the entire world. His London productions have included Sizwe Banzi's Dead, The Island, which won him an Evening Standard Award nomination, Waiting for Godot at the Old Victoria, Master Harold and the Boys at the Royal National Theatre, My Children, My Africa, won him an Olivier Award, and Playland at the Donmar Warehouse in the West End. In January to April 2000, he performed in The Island at the Royal National Theatre, which was preceded by a season of The Island at Peter Brook's Theatre, the Buffet du Nord in Paris, and I've definitely pronounced that wrong, sorry, Dr. Carney, and a short season at the Stockholm's Stadstheater. It was followed by seasons of The Island in Montreal, Canada, at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., and in 2002, The Island performed on London's West End to a sold-out house. I am not going to give you all his film credits, but he has multiple film credits as well as multiple directional work in several commercials. In 1989, together with the late Barney Simon, the co-founder of the Market Theatre, he actually founded the Market Theatre Laboratory, which was a drama school for young black people who could not study at universities through their lack of high school education and financial resources, as Prof. Bari himself pointed out, a critical area that we need to be looking at. And the school has now become the crucible of new talents and new works with an extensive outreach program. I think for me, some of the amazing things about Dr. Carney is that he's an extremely humble man, and he's received 2 doctoral qualifications through his brilliance and his work and his contributions. He's got multiple awards. If I were to say them all, I would be here all night. But his contribution as a social architect to this country and the world through things like acting and play is unbelievable. He wanted to be here tonight, but unfortunately, while Prof. Bari flew here from the United States, Dr. Carney is joining us online from the United States. So one is out the country and one is in the country. And so I would like to call on Mr. Sachaba Motsiloa to introduce to you Dr. John Carney for his Laureate Award, and after which he will join us online and speak to us from America. Thank you, Sachaba.
Thank you again. This is just a reminder, because I did read it earlier, that the Da Vinci Laureate is expected to provide insights into complex systems and to make contributions to society at large. They are also recognized for honorable service for their country through applied engagements. Laureates distinguish themselves by engaging in specific domains within society and thereby contribute to the reconfiguration of social systems at large.
There it is standing up, and I would like to say that Dr. Carney's latest play, Kuneni and the King, opened at the Royal Shakespeare Company in Stratford-upon-Avon in the UK in March in 2019, and it's now been transferred to the West End in London at the Ambassador's Theatre from January till the end of March 2020. He actually appears in this play with Sir Anthony Sher. Dr. Carney, thank you so much for joining us, and I now give you Dr. John Carney's acceptance speech.
My name is John Carney, a writer, director, and actor, sometimes called a cultural activist, which the former government of apartheid called me a political activist. I grew up in a small town called Port Elizabeth in New Brighton, brought up by God-fearing parents who truly believed that the status quo under the apartheid government rests squarely in the hands of God, and when God wants to free black people, he will do so. We don't need to be taking chances and endanger our lives. Unfortunately, there was a fire burning in me to tell the truth, to speak power to the truth. From the very early age, the plays and the things that I got involved in were in search of my own humanity, my own dignity, my own sense of self, and understanding the world around me. And I could not believe that the inhumanity of men to men that existed within the entire South African community could continue unabated and unchallenged. And thus my work began by approaching this situation of creating dialogue between the people of this country. I knew that if we took one moment and took the glasses or the spectacles of hate, suspicion, and anger, we could see each other. I looked into the eyes of a white man and I knew he was a good human being, and his name was Arthur Fugard. Thus began my career. I met Professor H.B. Klopper and, of course, Sechaba Matsilwa. And they mentioned this Da Vinci Award. I was a bit overawed. I was really humbled by this gesture that I could use my work in communication with the people of this country. My focus is the youth. My focus is to prepare our leaders for tomorrow. I know when I send the children to school, they're only talking about the children must learn mathematics, they must do engineering, technology, to prepare them to be employed by the future South Africa and the future economic empowerment and global economy. But there's something else that I believe that we can fuse with that. We can fuse technology with humanity. We can give this individual a sense of how technology can be used to serve the broader community, the broader need of our people. And this award for me confirms my journey in using the art to speak to technology, in using the art to mirror our own society, in using the art to effect an impact on change in the minds of people. I have met many people, a professor in Leeds who came to see my play, Nothing But the Truth, and look at the way I designed the set and brought the entire class to look at how architecture becomes part of the illusion and imagination of storytelling. I've met people around the world who talk about the use of humanities to touch our people, to give them an opportunity to see through the lens of technology, through the lens of creating empowerment and jobs, through the lens of education, but we have to see it in a manner of which that the common person, the man on the street, can identify it. I said to both Sechaba and Professor Klopper, you write beautiful journals, beautiful papers published for you to get more degrees, but it's never accessible to the broader public so that we could read these journals and these wonderful research papers you produce that are an indication of our future in this country. It then gives me this wonderful pleasure and opportunity that we will have time to get through these papers, through this research, and find a way to bring it to the people. When we were talking about reconciliation, we went out as actors under the guidance of Archbishop Tutu and Nelson Mandela to talk to people about that we have no alternative but to talk to each other, to reconcile, to find a way of creating what Bishop Tutu called a rainbow nation. There the arts played a critical role in speaking to people to bring them to understand that there was a need not for conflict, not for continued investigations and tribunals and trials, the ICC, but for South Africans to come together. When we started the voting process, we went out doing workshops in communities in rural areas where we preached and workshopped strongly the issue of the secret ballot, that no one will know who you voted for. Therefore, you can put your X and choose the people that you believe will serve your community best. In that way, we will be able then to use the politics also to speak to the people. Technology is here. We're talking through it now with students during COVID-19 continue their studies through technology. That still means that we need that contact. We need that speaking to each other. We need to understand the language of the youth. We need to understand what is it they see in us and what we see in them, what we both together see, this country, its future, and everybody's future, and make sure that we leave this country in the hands of capable people. Yes, the Da Vinci Institute and this award just give me such great honor, such pleasure, just to say thank you. I acknowledge and I see you, and I have still a lot of work to do. And through my art, through my power, through my technology within the arts, I will be able to serve the community much more better in partnership with the Da Vinci Institution. Again, I am honored and grateful. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Dr. John Carney. He has promised us that when he returns to South Africa, he will spend more time with us. On Thursday night, he was with us on radio. So we thank you, Dr. Carney, and we hope you have a wonderful trip ahead of you, and we thank you for joining us this evening. So I close off by saying, in a galaxy far, far away, tucked into the Da Vinci galaxy, lies the Da Vinci Institute. Its magnificent stars, each and every one of you, and their solar systems. I'm sure that Prof. Bari will reprimand me for also not saying that I'm factually correct, and he would want me to say that it also has a collection of gas and dust. And the other thing is that it's held together by gravity. And in our space, gravity is about the collecting and connecting of our galaxy together. It is about our energy flow. And it is about what both our laureates, without even knowing what each other was going to say, spoke about. We're wearing the color red today, which is often symbolized with things like love and passion. And I hope as you go out there, you remember love, imagination, and creativity. But most importantly, I want you to remember that stars cannot shine without darkness. So always embrace both your light and your shadow, and paint the galaxy to see your own unique constellation. Your constellation is part of our Da Vinci community. We are going to stand to sing the national anthem of the Republic of South Africa in honor of the country in which our institute is. And also you are then invited kindly by our president, Professor Kisveta, to join him outside. I do ask that if you want to take photos, etc., if you don't mind doing it after, because we are running late, and I would like you to get some food and snacks and drinks, and for Prof. Kisveta also to give his address, and then we can do photos, etc., outside with our photographer, etc. So I would like to ask you to please rise for the national anthem of the Republic of South Africa, and as we sing it, I congratulate the newest doctors in our republic, Dr. Kanaka, Dr. Masindi, Dr. Abdul Majid, Dr. Champion, Dr. Diyaga, Dr. Govender, Dr. Mugadza, Dr. Nsobi, Dr. Oyawale, Dr. Prinsloo, Dr. Ramadula, Dr. Seetal, and Dr. Yene. Congratulations, and we say well done to each of you.
Apollo.
academic procession will now leave.
Jubilee
Can I please ask everyone to just gather round? The doctoral students, if you can come through. So, we do this generally really informally. The doctoral students that are still inside, you can collect your certificates afterwards. If I could please ask our graduates, maybe it's because I'm calling them students, our graduates. Leon, is it on this side? Okay. So I'm going to stay on this side, and when Prof. Kisveta speaks as well, please feel free to get snacks and drinks as we speak. The whole idea of this is to be relatively informal, because the idea of it is really to celebrate you with your families. We certainly have a very esteemed president of our institute, Professor Edward Kisveta, who is also the Commissioner of the South African Revenue Services, who always avails his time to host our students and our doctoral students once they've graduated and become doctoral alumni. And we are indeed grateful to him for giving of his time. His wife is visiting from overseas, and he's still giving of his time as she has joined us. So, Francis, we welcome you as well. I said to you at the beginning that I'm going to speak more about people's characteristics than I am about their job descriptions. But I want to say one thing, that being the Commissioner of the South African Revenue Services has got to be one of three of the most stressful jobs in our country, one being, I think, the police minister, and maybe the other, the president. But I do want to say that Professor Kisveta is someone, when I speak about characteristics, that really is focused on the things we value so much at the Da Vinci Institute. He has an insatiable curiosity. Prof. Borry, you speak about discovery. Prof. Kisveta never stops learning and discovering, and the thing I love most about him is that he always shares this with people. He will always share his knowledge, give of his knowledge, and give of his time. And when you are as busy as he is, I think this is indeed remarkable. His ability to be transdisciplinary in his own approach to work and what he is doing is indeed remarkable. And then we speak about inclusivity. At Da Vinci, this is so critical.
He said he wanted to sing the African national anthem.
Sure. Okay, perfect. And Prof. Kisveta, Prof. Borry would like to sing the South African national anthem to you as the Commissioner of SARS. So I think that is indeed a tribute that I cannot outdo. So Prof. Borry, you can take the microphone and sing to our Commissioner. You can come stand over here, up here. Come, here we go. So, Prof. Kisveta, I will end off by saying you are indeed a remarkable citizen of the country who has been honored to be someone singing you the national anthem who isn't even South African. Prof. Borry, here we go.
Nkosi sikeleli Afrika, malufaka nisu fondo wayo, yitwa imitandazo yetu, nkosi sikelela dina lusafo wayo.
In honor of our President of the Da Vinci Institute and the Commissioner of the South African Revenue Services, Professor Edward Christian Kisveta. Congratulations to you, Prof. Borry. Thanks, Prof.
Thank you. I think you must stand with me to give me courage. So, good evening. After listening to our youthful professor earlier, and listening to the deep wisdom of Dr. John Carney, I have nothing left to say. And it's not often that I am speechless. But I will depart from some of the notes I made and share with you an experience which is particularly directed at the graduates who have achieved, as you so aptly recognized, a pinnacle in their academic career, which is the achievement of a doctoral degree. And the story I want to share with you is, I was a young power station manager, and I often say when Eskom was still a globally admired utility, I was a young power station manager, probably about 35 years old, and we often used to drive from Witbank to Sunning Hill, Megawatt Park, for meetings. And one of my colleague power station managers, we would often speak about the world and try and solve problems. And one day we remarked about a share of a company that he said to me, Edward, that share is a great share. I think this company will do well. And he gave me the name of the company. And of course, we continued to chat, and we came to Sunning Hill. Our meetings continued, and life went on. And about a year or so later, we chatted again, and I said to him, so Peter, how much money did you make out of this share? And he said, nothing. So I said, why not? So he said, because I didn't buy any shares. And the lesson there is that no amount of knowledge that you may acquire, if you do not act on it, if you do not apply it, can be of any beneficial value to you or indeed to the world. Because had he acted on it, he may have made a few rand. But he didn't act on very, very relevant insight and knowledge. Going to university and the process of education is about the synthesis, the acquisition, the assimilation, and indeed, as it is the case of a doctoral study, the creation and production of new knowledge. And tonight, each of you celebrate a contribution to an infinite domain of knowledge. Yours will also be added to that. But I want to ask each of you a very, very important request. Become restless from tonight onwards. Become restless about what you will do with that knowledge. Because if it stays in your head, if it stays in the production of the publications that you have produced in the form of your dissertation, it will make for interesting reading. Many future doctoral students will quote it as a reference. But the real value to humankind, the real value to the world, I listened to the adult child-headed households. I listened to capital adequacy reserves in the banking sector, to leadership in the wholesale and retail sector. I listened to every one of the citations, and I sit there with a deep yearning that that knowledge, the addition of knowledge that you contribute towards, that it somehow will find its way into action. The reason you will remember the names of Isaac Newton, Nikola Tesla, Louis Pasteur, Thomas Edison, is because they translated their knowledge into action. Da Vinci is indeed about the application of knowledge. It is about how we use our knowledge to transform the world, to leave the world a better place than the one we inherited. And when we pass on, we bequeath something that is greater than that which we've inherited. That's the burden I want to place on every single one of you who bask in the glory, deservedly so, of your doctoral qualification tonight. And I'm sure that the young professor will agree with me completely. And if he doesn't, we're going to send him to bed. And to you, I want to leave a special message. You spoke about innovation, creativity, and love or empathy as key components of learning. And whether it's mathematics or art, and Da Vinci combine those attributes. But the one thing you forgot to add is that one of the most important dimensions of learning is playing. So I hope you do find time to play. And with that, I wish to welcome you all. It's almost time to say goodnight, but this is supposed to be a welcome address to the President's dinner. But it was really lovely to spend it with you, and I'm always filled with so much joy when I can share in your achievements. I wish you well, and please continue to keep me in your prayers and thoughts as we try to make a small contribution towards making our beloved country a better place. Thank you.
I'm sure you will all agree with me that I was correct about Prof. Kisveta's ability to really translate things and to make them meaningful. So I will say that without doubt, you live our dream of influencing the co-creation of sustainable societies. I think what you've done in transforming the South African Revenue Services since you've taken over again has been absolutely remarkable, and many of us can attest to that when we did our tax recently. So congratulations to you and your team, and for always standing here, and for congratulating our students as they join this remarkable milestone. I'm sure that was my drink, so we'll have to clean that up. And now I would like to introduce to you our CEO of the Da Vinci Institute. He's also the Executive Dean of Institutional Partnerships and Research. That is Professor Habia Klopper. We give each of our students a gift once they graduate, and that is the words of wisdom. And he will now bestow the gifts on those graduates that are here this evening. Those that have been unable to attend will get their books delivered to them. Professor Habia Klopper is somebody who certainly has a passion for education, a passion for research, and a passion for students. As you saw this evening, some of his own students graduated. So I call on Professor Habia Klopper to come and give the awards to the students. Prof. Klopper, we need to stand in this space for the videography. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kunen. Before we hand over the special gifts, I just want to make 2 or 3 remarks with my engagements with all of the graduates that are here this evening. I think in many ways the research office will miss the regular conversations. We will miss that engagements, and we're very proud and we're privileged to say to evening goodbye. But on that same note, we also want to say we're looking forward to a different kind of conversations as we move forward into the space. I also want to say to the guests and the friends and the family here this evening, when in our engagements with our graduates this evening, it became clear to us, each of them, and I saw it this morning when we did the recordings as well, there's a twinkle in the eye, and we can see the passion, and that's important. And lastly, it's also a humble experience to see the humility of all the people as they stand and engage with us, and for that we're very proud. So for that we want to hand a special gift over to every student this evening to not remember Da Vinci, to remember tonight. And like a colleague of mine always say, we must catch and capture memories, and that's what we're doing here this evening. So the first doctoral student I want to call to the front is Dr. Loveness Kunaka. Dr. Kunaka. Loveness, are you around still? Maybe Barty will just... Dr. Masindi. And at this moment, I do want to, on a lighter note, share some information with the audience that the other people don't know. So if you wake up in the morning, you think about a bank, and you open your mouth and you speak about a bank, and you go to bed and it's all about banking. I think you must have banking in your blood. Now, we treasure that blood, and we hope that that blood will change not only the country, but also the continent, and make a difference where it matters and whenever you can. Mkongweni, thank you very much for this evening. Congratulations. Thank you, Mbati. Dr. Champion. Peter, what a privilege. Your wife Amelia, your daughter and son Robin and Michaela can be very proud of a father that from the very early age teach them the power and importance of education. And I think what impressed me most and what I will always remember is when you arrive at your current job, you say to them, we need to invest in training. And obviously it became a budget discussion and the people didn't trust that. And the moment you indicate it and you prove the power of training and how that can move the needle in a business, it's important. So my urge to you is never stop moving that needle. Never stop to be inquisitive. And while you're doing that, enjoy every moment. As you sit there under the stars and you do camping or glamping, think about this moment and treasure that. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you very much, bro. Thank you.
Thank you, Mpati. Dr. De Jager. Ronaldo, when a few years ago, he wasn't sure what to do and was a bit bored. And then he thought to himself, maybe I must become a teacher and teach people, and hence he enrolled for his doctoral degree. And I think back then you thought with a doctoral degree you can teach. Ronaldo, in a doctorate, you need to go out and you need to profess to other people. So don't ever stop being inquisitive. Be analytical. I think that's what you're good at. And make a difference and help consultants out there to teach the world what we need to know. Congratulations, Ronaldo.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you, Mpati. Dr. Govender. Terasumurte, when you were born, your father looked at the month, and this is a tradition in Sri Lanka, and it started with a T, and there's an option of names to choose. And back then he chose your name, which meant, and that was when you was little, to be the pillars and the foundation of education, and to be the most in that. And I think your father would have been proud, and are proud, as you're here today, where you reached the APIC qualification, and you really, without knowing that, lift your name. So for that, that's very powerful, and that's a foundation. Build on that foundation and keep on doing that when you talk and engage with artisans and make a difference out there.
Thank you. Thanks, bro.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mpati. Dr. Mugatsa. Grace. No, I don't see her here. Thank you, Mpati. Dr. Ntobi. Dr. Ntobi. Mfanelo. Yeah, please come. Sorry, with all these bright lights in my eyes, I'm blind as a mice. No, you can stand wherever you want to stand. Mfanelo, your mother is here, Sophia. I think as a mother, there's no prouder moment than seeing her son up here. You can be very proud. Now, I know you believe in the importance of relationships, so having her here is important. There's a very good friend that you lost a few years, and you know you soon have closure on that. So I think what you must say is never stop fighting. Never stop dreaming into the future. And important for the people here, this is the man that will change the future. Believing in early child youth development and making a difference from the beginning to the end. And in there, the middle, there's a gap that don't get attention. So between the age of 14, 15 up to university stage, we will be looking at you to make a difference and keep you accountable for that. And whenever you feel some push, and you know, it's the Da Vinci's from the back that support you. Thank you very much, Mfanelo. Dr. Ramadullah. Tabo, where do we start? I think what the people must realize, if you have a dream, you keep your eye on that and you move forward and you don't stop for anything. And you don't complete it in the maximum time, you try and complete it in the minimum time, even if less. As a man with a heart and a deep faith, I think it's very important to realize that everything that you have here, you're very thankful for, and you want to give back to other people. And when we look at the outskirts of the country and we see some changes being made there, we must think about Tabo. And if you listen this evening, he's the man that will not only make a difference, but be the difference in there. So never stop losing that energy and that drive. And I don't think you realize how energetic this man can be and how confident and passionate he is. So enjoy, and we will be watching over you and at what you're doing.
Thanks, bro.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof. Klopper. So now, please feel free, while we're closing off, to eat, drink, and be merry as you celebrate this evening. But we always get a very special man to close, and that is our Executive Chairperson, Professor Ben Anderson. I said earlier that there's multiple things that we value at the Institute. And Prof. Ben, tonight I'm going to make you close because I know our young professor's extremely exhausted. So I will not close tonight, so I'm closing with you. And that is to say that the legacy of Da Vinci, as I said to you, is in every single one of our students who are our Da Vinci stars and are making their own constellations. But the constellations that already exist at Da Vinci have been masterminded by Professor Ben Anderson. He will tell me that that isn't the case, but I will tell you, Prof, that because you drive the concept of a cooperative approach, we have a cooperative galaxy. And that means that you have sat us round a circle and you've encouraged us to really grow our knowledge base. And in doing that, you have led us and guided us to be different leaders within our institute. So the things we value at the institution, like curiosity, transdisciplinarity, inclusivity, co-creation, they are all things that you embody deep within your soul. They come naturally to you, and that is why they are embedded as things that we value at Da Vinci, and we barely have to blink our eyes to actually do them. The doctoral students tonight know that. They've had a co-creator journey. They have contributed transdisciplinary studies. And so we salute our students, our laureates, our commissioner of the South African Revenue Service and president of the Institute. But you, Professor Anderson, is certainly someone who shifts and changes the Institute on a daily basis. And it is indeed my honor to close this evening with Professor Ben Anderson, the Executive Chairman of the Da Vinci Institute. My apologies where Dr. Naika is, the Executive Chairperson of the Da Vinci Institute.
Well, thanks, Marla. I thought nothing need to be said because there's so much being said today. There was so much emotion. Professor Barry, it took me back many years when I was a child and the way I looked at the world. And in listening to you today was a great experience. I honor your parents, I honor your grandparents, I honor your grandparents, and I honor all the parents that come before them. So, Mondrian has made an interesting observation. Mondrian was an artist, a Dutch artist, that made us all aware that we construct as human beings and we impose construction or structure on society. And I sometimes wonder, in listening to the abstracts this evening, how conscious are you of the impact and the structure that your thesis argument is putting on society? I wonder if you thought of it that way. To what extent is your thesis going to box society, to make society look through your eyes? And to what extent are you aware that inadvertently your thesis can be a construction over the already existing realities and energy fields of millions of other people. So what I do hope for is that we will all be sensitive to the awareness that unintentionally, hopefully, but even if it is intentionally, you will have impact. And your thought process will have impact. So that we can be aware how we want that impact to be and at what degree and what level. The older I become, I want to have less impact. In honesty, I would almost want to have no impact. Because there's a lightness in myself of recent, of not wanting to impact. Because as humans, we've got a nature that if Tabo's thesis impacts, we want to follow him. We almost want to say to him, well, tell me more about it. Which can be good for Thabo, but it can also be potentially risky. Because he can believe in it so much that he believes that becomes the reality and the truth. So at the same time of being aware, as Mondrian said, that we create structure and we construct over society, and as much as yours will have that impact, I also have a sense of sharing that I hope you've got a need to have less impact. Let it be and let it go. There's a beautiful spotted ear owl that did something remarkably strange in this last breeding season at my house. Usually they breed high up in a tree, and then when the little birds come to life, they will push them out of the nest. In this case, she made a nest on the ground, which is not in the nature of the spotted-eared owl. And I was watching how she fed those little owls every day by catching little mice, sitting on a tree afar and feeding. And then one day, she flew away. She just left. And about 2 days later, the first little one left. And a day later, the other one left. She impacted. She gave structure, but just enough to make them aware that they must find their own energy and then maybe repeat the cycle. Because if she stayed too long, they will become dependent on her. They would look at her. They may even look up to her. But maybe soon she will become a lasting or a memory to them. Maybe they won't even think of her in a month to come. I hope all of us can be aware that we do impact, but also have a hope that you've also got an awareness of just letting it go. Congratulations to all of you. Thanks for honoring us with your presence and with your contributions. Thanks for the Bari family for coming into this realm. We hope you will be part of us for time to come. And we hope you've got a great and safe journey back. But thanks for everybody who are here tonight. Also to our president, it is your function. To both of you, thanks for being here. And good luck for the evening. Thanks for your time. Thanks, Marla. I don't know where's Marla, but I think that ends the evening. Marla. Okay, this is the end of the evening. Have something more to eat and to drink, and enjoy the time just talking to each other.
Dr. Mugatsa, you back. Can I quickly invite you up here, please? Thank you very much, Top. Thank you.
Apologies, Prof. Ben, I heard you calling me. But one thing we just wanted to is we found Dr. Kanaka. So we'd just like to award her with her book.
Dr. Kunaka, I think if I look at what you're passionate about, I realized very early that families where childs are leading and heading and making important decisions are not necessarily the right thing. And as you stand here, you've got a big heart, and that heart have a lot to give. So we sent you out this evening and say, go and give. But in giving, also receive, because the more you receive, the more you can give, and that's our wish for you. Loveness, we wish you all the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Someone else?
Dr. Mugata, can I also call you to the front? Grace, in that little town in Mutara, when you was a little girl and you look into the future, I think you never envisioned it will be here tonight. In 1994, when you went to the UK and you did your master's, you said, I want to know more about technology and design thinking. Where's the best institution? You found one very close to home. And I think what surprised you the most was as you were looking for design thinking, you also realized system thinking, and you combined that. And in that process, we urge you to go out and combine what you see and make the best of that, and don't ever stop doing that. Thank you very much, Grace.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.